Actress Shelley Duvall, arguably best known for her terrified performance as Wendy Torrance in the 1980 film The Shining, died in her sleep on Thursday, July 11, 2024. She was 75 years old, and her life wasn't always easy. Born July 7, 1949 in Fort Worth, Duvall was in college studying diet and nutrition when she was discovered by talent scouts at a party for her then-fiancé Bernard Sampson.
Well, someone else at the party called up the movie people and said, if you want some fun in Houston, come to this address.
The scouts worked for director Robert Altman, who cast her in his 1970 film Brewster McCloud, and subsequently made her the star of several of his movies throughout the next decade, including Thieves Like Us, Nashville, Buffalo Bill and the Indians, or Sitting Bull's History Lesson, and Three Women. Finally, in 1980, Altman cast her as Olive Oyl opposite Robin Williams in the musical film Popeye, a role for which her lanky limbs and slight figure seemed perfectly matched.
You said fooey.
I said fooey, and I mean fooey. Fooey.
Duvall also caught the eye of Woody Allen, who cast her in Annie Hall in 1977.
Sex with you is really a Kafkaesque experience.
In 1981, she starred alongside Sean Connery and John Cleese in Time Bandits. But as the 1980s wore on, most of Duvall's acting credits were in the realm of TV. During that time, she also formed two production companies that created a series of acclaimed children's shows. It's not uncommon for actors and actresses who were once big stars to fade from the spotlight. Age is often a factor, and in Duvall's 2024 New York Times interview, she expressed her deep hurt, saying, "I was a star. I had leading roles. People think it's just aging, but it's not. It's violence." She was referring to mental and emotional distress, not physical violence, going on to explain, "How would you feel if people were really nice and then suddenly on a dime they turn on you? You would never believe it unless it happens to you. That's why you get hurt, because you can't really believe it's true." It's not hard to imagine feeling that way if you were plucked from your hometown with little acting experience to become the muse of a famed director. That clout, along with having that certain something, meant Duvall moved among Hollywood A-listers for a time, only for it to all culminate in being nominated for the Golden Raspberry Award, or Razzie, for the most challenging role of her life. In 1981, Duvall was nominated for the Worst Actress Award for her performance in the big screen adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining, while the film's director, Stanley Kubrick, was also nominated for Worst Director. Though initially critically panned, the film went on to become a horror classic, and it's now well documented that Kubrick's treatment of Duvall on set was overtly harsh. Kubrick expected his actors to stay in character most of the time.
I had to cry and hyperventilate and carry a little boy and run, for most of the time we shot.
In 1980, Duvall told Roger Ebert, "There must be something to primal scream therapy because after the day was over and I'd cried for my 12 hours, I went home very contented. It had a very calming effect. During the day, I would have been absolutely miserable."
It was such intense work that I think it makes you smarter, but I wouldn't want to go through it again.
In 2022, Duvall's Razzie nomination was rescinded. A statement from the organization said, "We've since discovered that Duvall's performance was impacted by Stanley Kubrick's treatment of her throughout the production. We would like to take this opportunity to rescind that nomination." While Duvall kept her career going through the early 90s, she pretty much vanished from the public eye following the 1994 Northridge earthquake, which damaged her home. Her brother became seriously ill around the same time, and the two events were the deciding factors in her decision to move back to Texas. But it was also in Texas where her mental health declined. Her partner Dan Gilroy explained to the New York Times, "She became paranoid and just kind of delusional, thinking she was being attacked. She tried to make calls to the FBI and asked our neighbor to protect us. It was just shocking that suddenly from normal, it went south like that." In 2016, Duvall sought help from TV's Dr. Phil McGraw in an unsettling interview in which her mental illness was very much on display. Some accused the show of exploiting the sick, aging actress, including Stanley Kubrick's daughter, Vivian Kubrick, who took to X to post, "You were putting Shelley Duvall on show while she is suffering from a pitiable state of ill health. Unquestionably, this is purely a form of lurid and exploitive entertainment. It's appallingly cruel."
I want to have you checked out by some really good doctors.
I would like that.
For free. I'll pay for
If you
it.
promise me that they won't murder me.
Speaking about McGraw to The Hollywood Reporter in 2021, Duvall said, "I found out the kind of person he is the hard way." McGraw, however, told CNN's Chris Wallace a different story.
We worked with her for over a year off camera after that fact. And the people that were critical of it, nobody ever asked them what they ever did to try and help her.
In her later years, Duvall lived in rural Texas, and an April 2024 New York Times interview described her as spending her time driving around in her Toyota 4Runner, smoking cigarettes, and paying visits to neighbors. According to her longtime partner Dan Gilroy, who'd been with the actress since 1989, her cause of death was issues stemming from diabetes. Gilroy told NBC that Duvall had been in hospice care in the months leading up to her death and was unable to get out of bed. Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, he shared, "My dear, sweet, wonderful life partner and friend left us. Too much suffering lately. Now she's free. Fly away, beautiful Shelley." Fans and other celebrities took to social media to express their feelings about Duvall's passing. Stephen King, who was famously displeased with Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining, wrote on X, "Very sorry Shelley Duvall has passed. Wonderful, talented, underused actor." Mia Farrow posted something similar on X, writing, "Very, very sad to hear that the unique and truly wonderful actor Shelley Duvall has died. She leaves us many unforgettable performances." Though Kubrick died in 1999, his official X account also left a statement, reading, "Despite being dogged with exaggerations of her treatment on set, Shelley was always vocal about her experience filming The Shining, saying she wouldn't trade it for anything, because working with lovable Stanley was a fascinating learning experience.